Thank you, Campbell. I'm going to read a few verses from the close of Mark and the chapter 10. So Mark chapter 10, and we're commencing our reading at the verse 46 and reading on to the end of the chapter. And they came to Jericho, and as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway side begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And many charged him that he should hold his peace. But he cried the more a great deal, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stood still, and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, he calleth thee. And he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. And Jesus answered and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? And the blind man said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. And Jesus said unto him, Go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus in the way. I want to make a few simple points about the passage which we have just read a moment ago. The first thing that I'd like you to notice about this passage is the place where the events took place. Jesus Christ was coming to Jericho. And I don't know whether you know very much about Jericho, but even people who have maybe just heard of it in Sunday school may well be aware of the fact that Jericho was famous for its walls. It was the first place which stood in defiance to the children of Israel when Joshua and the Israelites crossed the river Jordan. And because of its defiance, because of its refusal to bow to the will of God, God placed a curse upon Jericho. God said that the person who rebuilt Jericho would be cursed as well. And you see, there's a lesson in that to us, my friend, because the Bible tells me that this whole world is under the curse of God. The Bible tells us that death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. A day will come, my friend, when because of your sin and because of my sin, we will pass from this scene of time. But you see, the wonderful thing is this, and the good news is this, that Jesus Christ came into this world which was cursed by sin, and that there is no place of rebellion, there is no place so cursed by sin where Jesus Christ cannot enter in and radically change the situation. But having thought about the place where this took place, I want you to think about the who in this passage. Verse 46 tells us that there was a great number of people that crowded about the Lord Jesus that day in Jericho. But the writer of the Gospel, Mark, takes us by the hand, as it were, leads us away from the great throng of people about the Lord Jesus Christ, and directs our attention to one individual in particular. And that person is blind Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus was a man who was blind, a man who was unimportant, a man who in many ways was defined by his disability and his inability to see. And you see, my friend, this evening or this afternoon, there is a message for us in that as well. Because the Bible tells us that the God of this world has blinded the eyes of fallen man, that we might not believe. You say to me, Sammy, how can such a thing be? I'm walking about this afternoon. I can see the shops, I can see the cars, I can see the blue sky, and yet you say that I'm blind. In what sense is man by nature blind? Well, first of all, my friend, fallen humanity is blind because by nature they do not see their lost condition. The Bible tells me that we are wretched, that all of our righteousnesses, the best that we can do, are but filthy rags in the sight of God. And yet we're not conscious of that, are we? We always think of ourselves as not too bad. We always think of ourselves as doing our best. But the Bible warns us that we are all wretched in the sight of a holy God. The second way in which we are blind is that we cannot see the danger that we are in. Because the Bible, my friend, warns us that outside of Jesus Christ we face the very real prospect of a lost eternity, and that the consequences of dying outside of the Lord Jesus Christ are grave indeed. A third way in which we are blind we find in Isaiah 53. We are blind to the beauty of the Lord Jesus Christ. We are blind to his appeal. We are blind to our need of him. Isaiah 53 tells us that we by nature see him just as a dead root out of the dry ground. There is no form nor comeliness, and there's no beauty whereby we desire him, because we do not see the beauty of the Lord Jesus Christ. And you see, because of that blindness, because we don't see our lost condition, because we don't see the danger that we're in, because we don't see the beauty of the Lord Jesus Christ, we face the very real danger of, as Jude tells us, of ending up in a place which the Bible describes as being characterized by blackness of darkness forever. The third thing I want you to notice about this passage is what this man was doing. Verse 46 tells us that Bartimaeus was begging. Bartimaeus was concerned about getting a few more pennies. Bartimaeus was concerned about the affairs of this life. Bartimaeus was concerned about getting a few more pounds if he possibly could. He didn't think at all about his greatest need. He didn't think about the fact that he was blind, that he was dressed in rags, and that he had a lost condition. He didn't think about the fact that the Lord Jesus Christ was passing that way. The only thing he was concerned about was getting a few more pennies. And you see, there are many people in this life, and they're like that. They don't think about the matters of eternity. They're just brought up with trying to get what they can get, to grab a few more pounds, to get a few more luxuries of this life. But the Bible, you see, my friend, tells me that there are riches which are greater than those which characterize this life. There are riches laid up for the child of God in heaven, in a place where moth and rust do not corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. Those riches are much greater than the pennies we can gather in this life. But fourthly, I want you to notice the change that comes about Bartimaeus. I want you to see his cry. Verse 47 tells us that when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. First of all, my friend, I want you to notice what Bartimaeus heard. Have you heard about the Lord Jesus Christ? There are many people, in this world, and they don't hear the gospel. They don't have the privilege of hearing that Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners. And we're very grateful that this afternoon you have taken a few moments from your time, and we have the freedom to stand here for a few minutes and to proclaim that Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners. What a glorious thing to hear. And Bartimaeus heard of the Lord Jesus Christ. Have you heard about the Lord Jesus Christ? What a privilege that is. But then I want you to hear his response to the news that Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. He cries out, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And that's a wonderful phrase, You can go through the whole Gospel of Mark, from beginning to end, and you will not find anybody else who refers to Jesus of Nazareth as Jesus, thou son of David. Because you see, blind as Bartimaeus was, a truth was dawning upon his soul. And that truth was that Jesus Christ was the Son of David. And what's the significance of that? The Son of David, my friend, was the promised Messiah. The one that would come into this world and that would come and bring salvation to those who were lost. My friend, have you ever called upon the Son of David? A king who was much more powerful than King David ever was. A king who had the power to banish the darkness that enveloped Bartimaeus and to bring him into the glorious light and to the truth of the gospel. And you see, my friend, just as surely as the Lord Jesus Christ was passing through Jericho 2,000 years ago, he is this afternoon passing through the town of Dromore, because we are seeking to uplift Jesus Christ, to point you to him and to show you that you too can turn to the Son of David and that he can have mercy upon you. Fifthly, I want you to notice the response of the people, because I look at the verse 48 and it tells me, if I can get the page turned in my Bible, and many charged him that he would hold his peace. There were people who told Bartimaeus when he cried out, Jesus, thou Son of David, have mercy on me. Shut up, Bartimaeus. Be quiet. Stop making a fool of yourself. And my friend, this afternoon, have you thought about the Lord Jesus Christ? Have you thought about the gospel? Have you thought about what he offers to those who are lost? And have you thought that maybe you should turn as well? And maybe the thought has crossed your mind that if you do turn to the Lord Jesus Christ, if you do turn to the Son of David, that there will be those who will mock you, that there will be those who will raise their voices in opposition to you. And maybe that's true, my friend. But the glorious thing is this: Bartimaeus did not listen to such concerns. And Bartimaeus never had any thought in the rest of his life to ever regret the fact that he disregarded those who told him not to call upon the Lord Jesus Christ, because he received his sight. His life was changed in a wonderful way. His life was changed in a transforming way. And so can yours be. Do not listen to those voices that would seek to distract you from the Lord Jesus Christ. But then notice with me the response of the Lord Jesus Christ to Bartimaeus' call. Verse 49 tells us, and Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. You see, the wonderful thing is this, my friend, that poor and blind and filthy as we are, if we call upon the Lord Jesus Christ, he will respond to us. He will heed our call and will seek to draw us to himself. You see, while we may have spent a life in sin, while we may have spent years and years rejecting the Lord Jesus Christ, if we turn to him, if we call upon him, the situation will be transformed, and Jesus Christ will have time for us. Seventhly, I want you to notice the response of Bartimaeus to the Lord Jesus, saying, well, Bartimaeus, come on. Verse 50 tells us, and he casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. You see, Bartimaeus, he was blind, wasn't he? And you think about the rags the poor blind man would have been dressed in. A man who couldn't see to wash himself, who couldn't see the stains in the garments that the rags that surrounded him. He realized that he had nothing to present to the Lord Jesus Christ in and of himself, that he could only flee to the Lord Jesus Christ and depend upon him. So he cast away everything else that he had. My friend, cast away your dependence upon your good works. Cast away your dependence upon your church attendance. Cast away your dependence on being a good neighbour. We have nothing to offer the Lord Jesus Christ, and we can only depend on him and him alone. And what a wonderful dependence there is in the Lord Jesus Christ. But two more very brief points. Verse 51, the Lord Jesus Christ asked Bartimaeus what at first appearance may appear to be a very strange question. He says to Bartimaeus, what wilt thou that I should do unto thee? You see, the Lord Jesus Christ wanted Bartimaeus to confess his need of him. He wanted him to confess that Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone could address his condition. and could save him from his blindness. And I ask you very directly tonight, or this afternoon, my friend, have you confessed that you need the Lord Jesus Christ? Have you come to him and said, there is no one else that I can throw my dependence upon? It is upon Jesus Christ and him alone that I turn to. I renounce all dependence upon good works. I renounce all dependence upon what I am. I recognize that there's nothing that I can offer, and I can only trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. And very quickly, I make a final point. I want you to notice the changed life of Bartimaeus and the new goal which he had. Verse 52 tells us, and Jesus said unto him, go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus in the way. You see, Bartimaeus not only got his sight back, he was given a new life and a new goal. Jesus Christ heals him, and he says, Bartimaeus, go thy way. And what was Bartimaeus' way? The Bible tells us that he followed Jesus in the way. Because you see, Bartimaeus now had a new goal in life. His goal was to follow the Lord Jesus Christ. He wasn't interested in going in the way which he had gone in before. He was going to follow Jesus Christ. He had a new master to follow. He had a new road to walk. And he had a new destination in view. And my friends, I was asked to speak in this open air at relatively short notice. But I was delighted to be able to speak on this passage this afternoon. And let me tell you why. Because that passage, which I've just examined with you this afternoon, have said a few things about, is the very passage which 30 years ago I was preached upon on the day that I was saved. And the wonderful thing, the way that ends is, and the last thing we hear about Bartimaeus is that he followed Jesus in the way. We have come here to Dromore, to the town square, to invite you to follow Jesus. And it would delight us more than we could tell you if someone could come to us this afternoon and say, can you tell us more about how to follow Jesus? We'll be here for a few minutes yet. There's yet more of the open air to follow. But if you want to come over and have a word with us, we'd be more than happy to speak to you. But thank you very much for listening this afternoon.
Such an inspiring message. What it is, give up the world and trust the Lord.